Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Saturday morning edition of the Stokastic NHL Strategy Show, sponsored by BetMGM. It is 10 a.m. on the East Coast. We're normally 9 a.m., but basketball had to go a little bit earlier today, which is fine. Got to sleep an extra hour. I was up anyway. But joining me as always is my co-host, Cliffy. How are we doing today, Cliffy?
Not too bad, man. I was telling you, I was having a little bit of technical difficulty before the show. Usually we screen share. It shows some of our projections or top stacks or what have you, but keeps freezing on my end. And I don't want to just drop out of the show and leave you hanging by yourself to have to break down 12 games. So won't be screen sharing today, but all the info we talk about is available at Stokastic.com for our DFS subscribers. So make sure you subscribe. How'd you do last night? I didn't play. I only put in a low entry to keep my Iron Man streak going for the Crowns. But I saw that maybe you cashed. Is that right?
Yeah, I made another bad swap, but like it is what it is. I got another 300 Q ticket. I doubled up my money. And also I would screen share on my end, but if we did that, we'd end up on like some Interpol list because I'll click a wrong button or something. So, woo. But anyway, I used last night. I used Columbus One, which was nice.
Good idea.
They were low owned because of the Flowchart boys. Flowchart never fails, by the way. Patented T-shirts coming. I also used an Islanders power play stack. I used Barzell, your client, Brock Nelson, and Noah Dobson. Barzell scored a power play goal, had 9 shots on goal. Dobson had 7 shots on goal and a block shot. And then I went off Vitaly Kravtsov, who was up on the second line. He scored a goal, and that was it. But he was min-priced. So,
and can I say he looked pretty good in the game yesterday. I watched that Rangers Ottawa game. He certainly did not look out of place playing alongside Panarin. Now, I don't think he's going to end up like 19 minutes a night like Andrei Kuzmenko is in Vancouver or anything like that. But it's certainly a big deal for the Rangers and helps, kind of balance out their scoring lines a little bit.
Yeah. He took a penalty in the third period, so he probably won't play until February. But the man, I can't believe the Rangers blew that game. But that's for another time. We have a grande 12-game slate today. And we don't have extra time to get through it, so we're going to have to get on our horse. It's not named Shadowfax, but they can show us the meaning of haste. But before we get into it, give us a like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, and much more. Once you subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows go live. Don't forget, almost all of our content is available in podcast form on the platform of your choice. Help us out by leaving a 5-star review. You know what to do. Say something about my head. We'll know it's from you. Also, I feel weird reading this promo on Saturday morning because most of the people tuning in definitely are subscribed because you probably have to set an alarm. But let's get into this lovely 12-gamer as I see Jake has gotten the projections up. Very nice, Jake. We'll give Jake the credit. It was his birthday the other day, by the way. He turned 17. Congrats on getting your permit. And, Colorado Avalanche, 2.7 total heading into Boston. The Bruins have a 3.3. The goalies I'll read are just going to be probable unless I note that they're confirmed. It's going to be Georgiev against Ullmark. Now, Colorado always matchup proof. Colorado won. But this probably is their toughest matchup all season. Now, and they're also going to get Bergeron, and that line has gotten cheaper. But as you talk about, the Colorado One defensive numbers have slipped a little bit, but their depth is really, really bad. Which is, I don't know if I'm going to full stack anything on Boston, but I have a lot of interest in Pasternak tonight. What are you seeing?
Yeah. Before we dig in, just want to say thanks for the compliment on my sweater, Wolf Girl. I am wearing another ugly wrestling sweater. I wore my Razor Ramon one a couple weeks ago, Sasha Banks. Last week, this week, we have The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, on today. So thanks for that compliment. Yes, Colorado at Boston. That Boston top line since Marchand came back, we talked about it the last time Boston was on the show, but 1.6 expected goals against 60 minutes at 5-on-5, 0.6 actual goals against. The penalty kill itself is super elite. It's typically amongst the best in the league. This season, no exception. Now, they are prone to penalties. Boston takes 3.9 penalties per game, 3.9 times shorthanded per game, I should say. So Colorado will get their power play opportunities, but it is a really tough spot, just considering who they're playing against. And, I was looking through Nathan McKinnon's game logs for his career. Now, obviously, teams change a lot going back, nearly a decade. But one constant in Boston has been pretty good defense and Patrice Bergeron on the top line. He's over a point per game against Columbus. He's over a point per game against Arizona, over a point per game against Anaheim, over a point per game against Minnesota. Just 12 points in 16 career games against Boston. It just speaks to how tough the matchup is against the Bruins. So, considering the price on those top guys, they're certainly not getting any cheaper. I think it's fine to just pass on Colorado here, especially in single entry or something like that. On the Boston side, the one thing I wanted to note is Boston's top line historically scores a lot less without David Pastrnak there. Going back a few years, about 750 minutes without Pastrnak on the wing of Marchand and Bergeron. 2.9 goals for compared to 4.2 with them. So, their goals go down by about 30% when Pasternak's not there. Now, Colorado top line itself has been pretty leaky defensively. So I think Boston 1 is perfectly fine to play here, especially where they're not super expensive, right? Like the entire top line is 20,500, which is pretty reasonable. But it's the David Pastrnak problem. He's on the top power play. Colorado's penalty kill has been struggling a little, even though their goaltending has really saved them. So, maybe you want to figure out a way, to get David Pastrnak in, take Jake DeBrusk out, just make it a 4-man Boston stack if you want. But those Boston top guys are in a pretty good spot here today. I imagine they're going to be under-owned relative to their top 2 percentage per our top stacks tool. So I really do like the spot for Boston 1. In fact, that Colorado second line, Cogliano, Confer, O'Connor, has actually been pretty good defensively. And the Boston second line hasn't been that good at 5-on-5. So I think this game is all about Boston's top line. I would just figure out what you want to do, whether you want to put in Pastrnak or not. I would probably try to find a way to get him in the stack. But he's not 100% necessary. It's just, he's pretty prone to having big games. But I do like the Boston spot here.
Yeah, and the problem, even though Boston is cheaper at 20,000 and change, this slate is bonkers. There's like unbelievably good spots in every game. Like I just feel like this is going to be a spot where Boston 1 goes wildly overlooked and could be a nice little contrarian GPP option. On the blue lines here, outside of Charlie McAvoy and Cale Makar, they're just not too much that I'm interested from this game.
Yeah, I'll mention Brandon Carlo. He does play on the penalty kill. Like I said, Boston does take a fair share of penalties, so maybe he can rack up some blocks for you here tonight for pretty cheap on DraftKings. Other than that, I think Charlie McAvoy is actually not a bad play here. Like I said, the Boston power plays, it is always good. And he has been playing a lot of minutes since he returned, over 25 minutes a game. I think McAvoy's in a perfectly fine spot. He's the expensive defenseman I would use for this game.
Yep, agreed there. San Jose Sharks with a 3 total. Heading into Ottawa, the Sens have a 3.4 total. Capo Kakinen is confirmed. Cam Talbot went last night, so it's probably going to be Anton Forsberg. Still can't believe the Rangers blew that game, but Brady Tkachuk put up a 40-burger. Thanks, Trouba. Get the captain spot. Get the captain on the C on your sweater. Forget how to clear the puck. Very good. This is a really good spot for the Sharks top line. They've just been rolling. Like the trip from New York to Ottawa isn't very long, but I do like it's not like they're in Ottawa last night and playing again. They had to travel. I kind of like the Sharks here. I don't mind going back to some Sens. It's just like a 12-game slate, teams on a back-to-back. they have a 3.4 total, so they're expecting goals in this game.
Yeah. To your point about the Sharks, our early projection run has that San Jose top line for 36 combined points, median score. That's more than the Ottawa top line. It's more than even the Boston top line that we just talked about. There's a couple reasons for that. One, that San Jose top line's been pretty good offensively, 3.8 goals per 60 minutes over their last 3 weeks. Hurdle and Meyer typically playing 20 plus minutes a night. Hurdle's been shooting more of late. That was a big knock on him, like through the first 10 games of the season, is that he wasn't shooting a lot. Now, he's not a big shot volume guy anyway, but there's a big difference between landing like 1.5 shots per game and like 2.4 or 2.5 or something. So he's shooting more. Obviously, Meyer shoots the lights out. The way Ottawa runs their matchups, they do often use that third line against opposing top comp. And, we talked about the last time Ottawa was at home, that third line just really hasn't been that great defensively so far this season. So I do think it is a good matchup for San Jose 1. They're very reasonably priced as well. They're coming in at about, my mental math tells me $17K, give or take. So I do like that San Jose 1 spot. I also don't mind Ottawa 2 here, that DeBrincat, Pinto, Batherson line. Now, DeBrincat's whole problem this year has been his shooting percentage. It's been the case for a few players. We talked about on the last show about Nathan McKinnon, that once his shooting percentage starts regressing a little bit, he's going to start putting up monster games. And he put up a huge game his last time out. Now, I'm obviously not saying Alex DeBrincat's going to have a 5-point night here. But it's the same thing for him. Once that shooting percentage starts going, like it was over 14%, his 3-year average, and it's sitting at about 7% this year. So once that starts regressing with his shot volume, like the goals are going to come, he's really going to start flooding the goals. And they've been good offensively too. 2.8 expected goals for, only 2.1 against per 60 minutes. It's just they haven't been finishing. Once they do, they're going to flood the opposing net. And that San Jose second line, their defensive numbers have been sliding. Their last 100 minutes together, 2.8 expected goals against per 60 minutes. They're getting wildly outshot in their time together. I think this is a good spot for the Ottawa second line. If you don't want to full stack them, you can certainly just one off the Brincat or one off Batherson, or go with a 2-man with the 2 wingers, because they do get that power play time. But I do like that Ottawa second line here. San Jose 1 very much in play as well. I wonder if they go under-owned here tonight. They typically do carry some ownership. They are over 17,000 on the road, so maybe not, but I do like that San Jose 1 spot as well.
Yeah, I do like San Jose here tonight. I'll be interested to see ownership because, as we said off the top, there are a ton of spots in tonight's game. I don't think we'll see like a wildly chalky spot, maybe 1 or 2, but like everyone else should be reasonable. On the blue line, if you want to get up to Carlson, that's fine. If Chabot with your Sen stuff is fine. He's very decently priced on DraftKings at 5,100. Like Artem Zub, I guess at 3K is all right. Hamonic at 3,400 is all right. Matt Benning 2,600. Like, I'm not running out to play anyone from this game, but there are some options.
Yeah, I think Thomas Chabot's definitely the one that sticks out. He's been playing 25 minutes a game pretty regularly of late. Runs the top power play unit. Now, San Jose has probably the best penalty kill in the league, so it's not really a good power play spot for the Sens. But 5,100, we have his DK projection over a little over 12 points. That's a pretty good value. So I do like Chabot here. Do like Zub. He's been playing some good minutes of late as well. Matt Benning would be the cheap guy that I really like from this game from San Jose. He's been getting like 21 minutes of late. Can definitely put up the block bonus on DraftKings for very cheap.
Yeah, and DraftKings has priced him above the minimum floor. He was 2,300 earlier this season for whatever reason. Fat fingered it. That's a big fat finger. 2 keys over. But, he's 2,600 tonight. Don't mind it. Vegas Golden Knights, 3.2 total. Heading into Detroit, the Red Wings have a 2.8 total. Logan Thompson, Ville Husso probable. Tyler Bertuzzi went on the IR, so Pius Suter is getting the first crack on the second line with Michael Rasmussen and Lukey Dookie Raymond. Top line of Kubalik, Clark, and Perron. That's probably the only line I'd consider from Detroit. there are multiple lines to consider on Vegas. We kind of talked some smack about the Vegas top line, and Eichel went out and I think had a combo meal with a goal. No one else really did anything on that line, but I think there is some merit to going to Vegas here tonight.
Yeah, I really do think there is, especially with the defensive issues that a lot of the Detroit lines have had. Like, we've gone on and on about how Andrew Kopp's defensive issues have persisted this season. Now, maybe he does a little bit better now that there's no pressure in the top six for him, but that I don't expect that line to be very good defensively.
He's not an NHL center. I'm going to say it. He's not an NHL center. He's more suited for the wing.
I'm not going to dig into that right now. The Guy Fieri line for Detroit, Dominic Kubalik, Dylan Larkin, David Perron, pretty good offensively, 3.4 expected goals for per 60 minutes. About average defensively, 2.5 expected goals against. So it's not a brutal matchup for that Vegas top line. One thing Detroit doesn't do is take a lot of penalties, only 3 times shorthanded per game. Vegas at 2.5. So there may not be a lot of power plays in this game. The Detroit penalty kill was really good to start the year, sliding a little bit, but still good. Vegas is good as well. I got to say, I think I kind of like the Vegas second line the best in this game. That Rasmussen, Suter, Raymond line is not going to be good defensively. We just talked about Kopp and Sunkvist. So I think, that Vegas second line is going to get some good matchups in the middle of that Detroit lineup. Their last 100 minutes together, 2.9 expected goals for, 3.5 actual goals for. Jonathan Marchessault shooting the lights out. Now, Riley Smith hasn't been shooting a lot lately, but his playmaking and scoring chance numbers are still very strong. So I think it's a pretty good spot for that Vegas second line. I don't know if you need to full stack them. You can just do like a Marchessault Carlson or Marchessault Smith or something like that. But I think it's a pretty good spot for Vegas too, and that's probably where I'd look in this one.
Yep, Vegas 2 is my preferred line as well. I want to go to Vegas top line. That's perfectly fine. They're still correlated. But like you mentioned, Detroit doesn't take a ton of penalties. On the blue line, Shea Theodore is still running the power play with Pietrangelo out. We'll have to wait and see if he's in tonight. Obviously, morning skate hasn't happened yet. I don't even know if he's on IR or not. But
they said there's a chance he might be back this week, and so we definitely have to keep an eye for it.
Shea, if Pietrangelo's out, McNabb, Haig for, cheap punts there. Moritz Cedar, I think, is fine. And we talked about Phil Pronic in our Discord this morning. Dude's absolutely on a tear, 4,800. Can he keep it going? We'll find out.
Yeah, Nick Haig definitely in play here with it. As long as Pietrangelo's out, he's probably going to play about 20 minutes, sub 3K. I like that price. Shea Theodore is kind of in that Thomas Chabot spot, where not necessarily a great power play spot, but because of the minutes he'll play, assuming Pietrangelo's out, he's fine as well at 5,600. Not a lot from the Detroit side I really like, because Cedar, he's not putting up a lot for peripherals, so he relies on point production. And Vegas is, even if they haven't been as good offensively as they were, back in the early and mid-November stages, they're still really good defensively. So I think it'd be the cheap defenseman I'd look for here. Somebody like Nick Haig, maybe even a Jake Wallman. Who knows?
Contractual obligation, Jake Wallman. Flowchart merch coming soon. I think I'm joking, but I might not be. Toronto Maple Leafs 2.9 total. Heading into Tampa Bay, the Lightning have a 3.1 total. Matt Murray's confirmed, probably going to be Vasilevsky. Both these teams are driving me up a wall here. I played Tampa Bay one the other night. They did absolutely nothing against the Flyers. Matt Murray's been pretty good. I don't think I'm going to get to anything in 1 to 3 here. I think this is a good MME game.
Yeah, it definitely is a pretty good MME game for anybody that's playing a ton of lineups on this slate, just because they are two teams that can score a lot of goals. One thing I'll note is that the Tampa top line will see a little bit of that Matthews, Nylander, Bunting line. They do put out the top line against the opposing top line a little bit, but they do put them out quite a bit against the opposing second lines. And with Nick Robertson back alongside Tavares and Marner, like we don't have a sample there because when Robertson was on that line, it was earlier in the season when Nylander was still there. But Robertson, he's a good offensive player, but he's still not good defensively, and he was dragging down the line's defensive numbers. And I think he'll probably do the same even with Marner there. So I think Tampa 1 is kind of fine to use here tonight just because I think they do see a lot of Robertson, not a lot, but a fair bit of Robertson, Tavares, Marner at 5-on-5. And I think that's a matchup that favors the Tampa top line. Like they've been on an absolute tear by expected goals anyways. Last 110 minutes, 3.7 expected goals for per 60 minutes. The problem is they're only shooting like 3%. Obviously, a Kucherov point line is not going to stay at 3% for very long. Kucherov has been shooting a lot himself. He's been playing a lot as well. I don't think, I agree with you. I don't think I'll get there in single entry at 3 max, but I don't mind that's the spot for the Tampa Bay top line here. On the Toronto side, like the issues just kind of persist here. Matthews not playing heavy minutes. He is producing well, but we're still kind of waiting for him to have like that sustained, super high end breakout. He had a couple of 30 bangers on DraftKings back to back. Obviously we take those, but there's a lot of, 7, 9, 11 games mixed in there. Going into Tampa Bay is not necessarily a good matchup for them. Especially with Morgan Riley missing, like you'd want to take advantage of a Tampa penalty kill that hasn't really been that great, but the Toronto power play is struggling without Morgan Riley. I don't think that's unexpected. So I don't hate the idea of using Toronto here. If I were to do anything from the Leafs, I would go to that top line. I don't think that Toronto second line plays enough minutes or is, with Nick Robertson there, he might be moved off the line real quick. I think it would be Toronto. It'd be Toronto one that I go to, be either of the top lines here. I favor the Tampa side, but I'm with you. I think single entry 1 to 3 might not be a game that I look to.
Yeah. And Jason Robertson's little brother, Nicholas Min Price. Hopefully he sticks there. Like he's obviously not as good as his brother, but like give the guy some run. Like we know who Kerfoot is at this point in his career. Give Robertson a run. That's my rant.
Okay.
Yeah. Blue line. Yay. Mark Giordano, I think, is the guy. Like you want to use Sandin for the power play. Yay. Justin Hull for shot blocks, but I think Giordano can, get the blocks, shoot the puck a little bit. On the Tampa side, nothing really.
Yeah. Mikhail Sergachev does have those big games once in a while, but you'd really want him in a good power play spot, and this isn't really a great power play spot. Toronto doesn't take a ton of penalties below average by time shorthand per game. The penalty kill is good. I don't think there's a lot that I'm like running out to play. If I were to play anything, it would probably be on the Toronto side. Liljegren's playing good minutes of late. Justin Hall can get you those blocks. It'd be something like that. I don't think I'm paying up for the big guys in this one.
Agreed. And as we mentioned off the top, we are sponsored by BetMGM. We're thankful for that sponsor. Otherwise, we might have ASMR with Josh and Cliffy, which would be a scene. As the private dating chat girls hit the chat. But no, we're sponsored by BetMGM. And as you know, if you tune in, we have a deal for you. You bet $10 and win $200 if any team scores a goal during the World Cup. It happened. Teams have scored. Imagine that. Click the link in the description. It's the pinned comment, and you sign up. Bet must be on a pregame money line. Because we have analytics on that link, we know that a lot of you have signed up. But not all of you have deposited and got your $200 in free bets. So signing up is great, but you're not going to get your $200 in free bets. You have to deposit at least $10 and bet it on a pregame moneyline World Cup game. Doesn't matter if the game ends 0-0, you will get $200 in free bets. So sign up, deposit, bet, 20 extra money. No strings attached. Easy game. No XMR. New Jersey Devils, 3.5 total.
I just want to cut you off real quick. Just to touch on Toronto, Tampa again. Anthony Cirelli, forgot to mention, he's probably going to be back tonight for Tampa. Don't know what the lines are going to be. They're just about to hit the ice, I think. I think he might start on the third line as the center with Corey Perry and Ross Colton. But that's just a guess. We'll have to see what they do here. But on to Philly, New Jersey.
Yeah. Sorry, microphone. I kind of abused you there. New Jersey Devils 3.5 total heading into Philadelphia. The Flyers have a 2.5 total. Vitek Vanacek, Carter Hart, probable. Another Devils game. I'm on the Devils here. I'm probably not going to have much from the Flyers here. Travis Konechny might be back, or he's confirmed back. One or the other. He's still really expensive. This isn't the best spot, so probably just Devils for me tonight.
Yeah, it is a tough spot. I will say Konechny's numbers when he's been healthy this year have been pretty absurd. Whether it's point production at 5-on-5, scoring chance generation, that type of thing. He's been really, really good. Just a pretty tough matchup with New Jersey in town, maybe the best defensive team in the league. So probably not the best spot for Konechny, but somebody to keep in mind if you're playing a lot of lineups. I think he definitely can be used as a one-off. I do think this is about the New Jersey Devils. Assuming that Hayes and Konechny are on that top line with Noah Cates, I think that's what they ran in practice yesterday. Mm-hmm. Hayes and Konechny have really struggled defensively together this season. 3.4 expected goals against in 185 minutes together. That's not a small sample. 4.9 actual goals against per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. That is giving up a lot defensively. It's just a matter of which line they consider the opposing top line. I don't think it really matters because, Frost and Farabee haven't been very good defensively together either. Over 3 expected goals against, over 4 actual goals against. So I don't think the matchup really matters all that much for New Jersey here. It's just about who you want to use. Now, that top line with Tatar, Hischier, and Bratt, the sample is starting to grow. And Kel Surprise, they've been excellent offensively. 4.2 expected goals in 55 minutes together, 4.4 actual goals. 2 out of those 3 guys are going to be on the top power play unit. I do like Tatar, Hischier, and Bratt again here tonight. I think some sort of Devils power play stack is fine as well. Like, I think you can do like Hughes, Bratt, and Mercer if you want, leave Hischier off, or do like Hischier, Bratt, and Hughes and do a double center if you want. I think that just that New Jersey top 6 is in a very good spot. The Philly penalty kill has really been struggling over the last month or so, like around the bottom 5 in the league. So it's a good spot at 5-on-5, good spot on the penalty kill. Not our top stacks run just came in. Not a lot of ownership here. 2% on the Hischier line, about 5 to 6% on the Hughes line, at least over on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, even lower where they're priced up a little bit. So I think the ownership's perfectly fine here. Even if they come in a little bit higher, it's fine in this matchup. I really just like some sort of Devils power play stack. If you want to even strength stack, I would go Hischier, Brad, and Tatar.
Yeah, I prefer the Hischier line. I generally prefer whatever line Jesper Bratt's on because he's either going to be with Nico Hischier or Jack Hughes. I mean, you can go to the Hughes line. Mercer's pretty cheap on the power play as well. So, yeah. On the blue line, Doug Ham. If you want to add him into some power play stacks, is fine. Otherwise, Ryan Graves on the Flyer side is probably just going to be Sanheim.
Rasmus Ristolainen just keeps playing 20 minutes a game for some reason. I think he has the block bonus in 3 out of his last 4 games. New Jersey is one of the most shot-happy teams in the league. Got to think he's a real threat for the block bonus on DraftKings here tonight. It's just, can he put up more than that for that 3,100 price is the question. But I think he has a reasonable floor to work with. Don't mind him as a cheap defenseman here.
It is true. Let's get to the Blues. St. Louis Blues, 2.9 total. Heading into Pittsburgh, the Penguins have a 3.6 total. Binnington, Yari, probable. Blues mixing up their lines a little bit, sending Vladimir Tarasenko down to the third line with Nathan Walker. Top line of Buchnevich, Thomas, Kyrou. Then the O'Reilly line still status quo here. Pens running back the same lines. I really like the Penguins here tonight, but I don't think we should sleep on this Buchnevich, Thomas, Kyrou line because they are very good offensively. And the Penguins struggle on the penalty kill.
Yeah, it is the special teams that I want to talk about a little bit. My picks article is not posted yet. I'm going to be finishing that up once we're done the show. But Evgeny Malkin is going to be on it. The reason is the St. Louis penalty kill. Now, St. Louis is the least penalized team in the league. Means, Pittsburgh might only get 2 or 3 power play opportunities here, which is it's a double-edged sword here because you actually have just the antithesis of each other in special teams here. St. Louis, the worst penalty kill in hockey over the last month by shots against, by goals against, what have you, the worst penalty kill. The only thing that's saving them is that they're only giving up 2.2 power plays a game, by far the least in the league. Even still, because they're so bad, they've given up 11 power play goals against in their last 15 games, which is unfathomable for a team, giving up like only 2 power plays a game. Yeah. That's just how bad they've been. But the Pittsburgh power play, meanwhile, also last in the league over the last month. They've just been absolutely awful. I don't know what's going on. I watched the Pittsburgh game the other night. It just seems like there's always just this one move or one play that, either Gensel tries or Malkin tries or whatever, and it's a turnover and the puck's just fired down the other end. It's like they're not necessarily having a terrible time setting up or getting in the zone. It's just there's always this one play that just screws everything up. It's like they're overthinking it a little bit, but it is a great spot for them to kind of get right here. So I don't mind the Pittsburgh side here. They do have a 3.6 total. It's the Pittsburgh second line that I'll mention. The reason for that is the St. Louis second line. You talked about how good they are offensively. They've been pretty bad defensively as well, like trading a lot of chances back and forth. Like going back to last year in about 100 minutes together, like 3.1 expected goals against per 60 minutes, which on a St. Louis team is absolutely terrible defensively. So I think it's a pretty good matchup for Zucker, Malkin, and Rust. They're not getting super heavy minutes. They're in a little bit of a shooting percentage slump as well. But considering how good the matchup will be at 5-on-5, considering how good the matchup is for Malkin and Rust on the power play, I think it's a good spot for them to kind of break out offensively. And I think that's why you're seeing a 3.6 total here. I won't say no to the Pittsburgh top line. I just think it's tough matching up against Ryan O'Reilly and Brandon Saad. If anything, on the Pittsburgh side, I really do like that Pittsburgh second line. Even if you just want 2-man Malkin and Rusk, I think that's acceptable, especially where Rust's price just keeps declining on DraftKings.
Yeah. Malkin Rust combo on DraftKings is 10-3. That's just way too cheap for an unbelievable power play spot and a pretty good 5-on-5 spot as well. Let's move to the blue line. On the blue side, nothing like super exciting, but Parayko and Krug's price are fine. Whether you can stomach clicking their names is another story. On the Pittsburgh side, Jeff Petrie.
Yeah, Krug down to 3,700. I think that's pretty reasonable for him. It's when he was at like 5K that I didn't really want to play him, so I don't mind Krug here. Jeff Petrie, 4,700. He's been playing 26 minutes without Chris Letang in the lineup. Power play 1, lots of 5-on-5 times. So I think I do like Petrie quite a bit here tonight in that 4 to 5K range on DraftKings.
I have to chuckle because we're about to get to the next game, and I just saw the projection for the top line, and it is like higher than a lot of people's IQs. Montreal Canadiens, 2.7 total. Heading into Edmonton, the Oilers have a 3.9 total. Jake Allen, Stewie Skinner, probable. Edmonton 1, projected for 53.4 points. Getting 20% ownership on a 12-game slate. I mean, they're just rolling along. They're fully correlated. You can add a Nugent Hopkins if you want to get a little bit different, but this is, as Niehaus would say, a primo spot for the Oilers.
Yeah, I think the Oilers top line has roughly the same point projection as Philadelphia's entire top 9. It is just a really, really good spot for Draisaitl, McDavid, and Hyman. On DraftKings, we have Draisaitl and McDavid projected for over 40 points together, nearly 40 points. Like it's just absolutely obscene what we're expecting from them here. I mean, rightly so.
They're very expensive, by the way.
Yeah, they are super expensive, obviously. Just the three man alone is 23,800, which is kind of funny. They're still coming in with roughly a 20% projection ownership wise, which is pretty wild for a line that expensive on a 12-game slate, but it's not justified. In their time together, 3.8 expected goals for, 5.9 actual goals for per 60 minutes. They've all been playing over 22 minutes a game, including Hyman of late. McDavid and Draisaitl specifically 25 plus, because they have a couple injuries and they have absolutely zero scoring depth. So unless those guys put up 3 or 4 goals every game, the team's not winning. They've been really good off. This team has struggled at 5-on-5 scoring, the McDavid line especially, but since moving Draisaitl and Hyman there, they definitely have not. And they're going to match up a lot against that Montreal top line. Now, the Montreal top line started off really, really well, but over the last 3 weeks, about 110 minutes played, 2.9 expected goals against per 60 minutes, 5.7 actual goals against. The defensive numbers for Caulfield, Suzuki, and Doc are really falling pretty precipitously here. So, I mean, yeah, surprise. I really, really like the Edmonton top line here. It's just how, what else do you want to use with them? What can you stack them with? McDavid's going to be in my picks article. He's put up over 4 shots a game of late because he's playing so many minutes. It is an excellent spot for the Edmonton top line. What I will say is it's not a terrible spot for Montreal's top line either. Edmonton, pretty bad defensively at all strengths. Montreal's does struggle on the penalty kill, but Edmonton are on the power play, but Edmonton also struggles on the penalty kill. Their goaltending has really been letting them down. So I think like a pretty low owned Montreal top line isn't a bad idea here. Even a one-off Cole Caulfield, I think, is perfectly fine, or one-off Nick Suzuki or something like that. But yeah, this is an Edmonton game. It's going to be hard not to play them.
Yeah, I will err on the side of caution here and let you guys know that one-offing McDavid might not be the best idea tonight because it's going to happen a lot. And if he has a great game, his line mates are coming along for the ride. So, you can one-off McDavid. There are no rules, but if I'm going to play the Oilers, I'm full stacking or I'm not. They're all going to be in my lineup or none of them are going to be in there. So that's just my rant on that. On the blue line, Mike Matheson, I think, is in a good spot at 4,500. Oh boy, the Evan Bouchard story. What are you doing, Bouchard?
Yeah, we talked about it on our Discord. His last 4 games, he's had 3 really low ice time games and 1 20-plus minute game. And it was the 3 really low ice time games where he exploded DFS-wise, and it was his 20-minute-plus game where he did not. Now, the 20-minute-plus game was in Minnesota, and Minnesota's been excellent defensively of late, especially over the last month or so. I expect Bouchard's going to have a ton of ownership here tonight, but it's not justified. Our projection for him, about 8.5 DK points, which is really, really high for a $3,700 defenseman. I really do like Bouchard here. On the Montreal side, I don't mind Mike Matheson either. He's been playing 24 minutes a game for Montreal. He's a guy that's pretty good in transition, loves to jump into the play. Like I said, Edmonton pretty bad defensively. I don't mind Matheson in that mid-4s range either.
Yep, agreed there. Chicago Blackhawks, 2.4 total heading into New York. The Rangers have a 3.6 Arvid Soderblom, Yaroslav Halak probable. This is a very good power play spot for the Rangers. Rangers played last night. I'm still reeling from that. I think if I'm going to do anything on the Rangers, it's going to be some sort of power play stack. Now that they kind of have 3 lines that can go out, their ice time kind of is a bit wonky. So if you want a 5-on-5 stack anyone, I'll just go to the top line, like Panarin, Hedl, Kravtsov. Their minutes are kind of similar to Lafreniere, Trocheck, Kakko. So if you want a 5-on-5 stack, it would be the top line. But I think, if you want to leave off VC off the top line and add in a Panarin for power play, add in a Trocheck. That's probably what I do. On the Hawks side, I don't know. 2.4 road total. Rangers played yesterday. I don't think I'd full stack anything, but like Patty Kane one-off at 5,800 at low ownership kind of is a bit sneaky tonight. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I'll mention our Rangers top line projection. The Zibanejad Kreider VC line is at 35.1 DraftKings points, which is the exact same projection for the Boston top line. And the Rangers top line is over $3,000 cheaper on DraftKings. Now, for that reason, the Rangers top line is going to come in higher owned. Well, that and that they're playing Chicago. But the Rangers top line has been really, really good this year. With VC there, 4.3 expected goals for.
He's looked good.
4.4 actual goals for. VC's actually taking some shots as well. Kreider and Zibanejad, even as they've, spread out the scoring, specifically Kreider and Zibanejad are still playing around 19, 20 minutes a game, which is, perfectly fine for their price. Zibanejad shooting a lot more on the power play of late as well. And as you said, a pretty good power play spot as the Chicago penalty kill in the bottom 10 for shots against and goals against over the last month. In fact, pretty much neck and neck with not neck and neck, but pretty close to Edmonton in the goals against department on the PK. So yeah, I really do like the Rangers top line here tonight. I'm with you. I think you can take off VC and put on Panarin if you want. Panarin's been playing a lot of late as well. I think that's something that's perfectly fine to do. But that Rangers top line is going to be going out against Kane, Taves, and Athanasiou. Now, we don't have a sample with Taves there. I think it's only been one game, but with Kane and Athanasiou together, 6.8 goals against per 60 minutes of 505 this year. 3.7 expected goals against. Like, they've just been really, really struggling defensively. At this point of his career, Taves is not going to turn that line into a defensive beast or anything like that. I think it's just a great matchup for that Rangers top line. I really like Zibanejad, Kreider, and VC here. I can't see myself getting to any of the Chicago lines. Like, if anything, it would probably be that Domi, Kurashev, Radish line. I don't know if the Rangers second line is going to be great defensively, but I think it's all about the Rangers top line here in this game.
Yep. Just quick note from the Penguins game. JJ in chat said, heads up, you're thinking going with Rust. Rickard Rakell is on the top power play unit in place of Rust. Rust is on the second unit.
Oh. Yep.
Rangers, yeah.
I just saw that message from Taylor Haas. That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of changes things a little bit.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Although Rickard Rakell does shoot a lot, so that could be fun. On the blue line, Adam, I think this is a good game to go to Adam Fox. If not, you can go to, Keandre Miller for a punt. Seth Jones, all right. Jake McCabe, all right. Connor Murphy, all right.
Yeah, Adam Fox is going to be in the picks article that I'm going to have up on free to read for anybody that wants to go check it out on Stokastic.com. I think it's a really, really good spot for him. I think Jack Johnson's playable on FanDuel, which he's getting 21 minutes a game and he's priced at 3,800, I think, on FanDuel, which I think is just perfectly fine, even if he just racks up a bunch of blocks. But yeah, it's Adam Fox that I like most in this game, and it's not particularly close.
Yep. Are you sick of Oliver Atticus taking all your money? I know I am. So I'm going to go play on Prize Picks. It's a daily prop-based contest. There's no sharks, like Ollie Oxen Free or whatever that song is. Optimizers are mass entries. You can put in a 5-player lineup and you can get up to 10x your entry fee. You can use your knowledge in multiple sports with cross-sports entries. Click the link in the description below to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and up to a $100 deposit match bonus when you sign up and make a deposit with Prize Picks. I was just kidding about Oliver. He's been on a tear. Congrats to you, by the way. But yeah, I do really like Prize Picks. We have that offer in the link in the description below. So if you're interested in Prize Picks, click on that and go on your way. Washington Capitals, 2.7 total heading into Calgary. The Flames have a 3.3 total. Kemper, Markstrom, probable. Oh, the Flames are an enigma. Their top line's in a good spot, though. They're getting low ownership. You going back to the Flames?
Yeah, it is a pretty good spot here. The Calgary top line, obviously didn't do a lot last game. I think Lindholm scored, but it was their only goal. The Calgary top line earlier in the season when they were together was not getting a lot of top competition. Now they did play quite a bit against Montreal's top line in their last game. That means going up against Ovechkin, Strome, and Sheary. That line actually hasn't been that bad for Washington. 3.1 expected goals for, 2.4 expected goals against, both numbers better than average. The Calgary top line has certainly had their trouble scoring this year. They're not generating a ton either. 2.8 expected goals for, like that's less than Washington's top line. And Washington doesn't really take a ton of penalties, just 3 times shorthanded per game on the season. The Calgary power play has been struggling a little bit. Like I think there are reasons to avoid that Calgary top line here tonight, despite a pretty reasonable price. They're not coming in with much ownership, and I think rightly so, about 3%. So they're definitely playable. Just don't know if I'd be running out to play them. I think the line that I actually do like is Kadri Mangiapane and Dubé, which feels weird to say because I don't like Dylan Dubé as a player. I think you can probably just leave him off the stack. But Andrew Mangiapane's price has really come down of late. In their last 70 minutes together, the line has been really good offensively. 3.2 expected goals for, 4.4 actual goals for. They're going to get a lot of that Milano-Kuznetsov matchup, which, we talked on the last show. Milano and Kuznetsov, not very good defensive numbers together this year. I think it's a pretty good matchup for that Kadri Mangiapane line. At the very least, I like those two guys in a duo here, Kadri Mangiapane. On the Washington side, if I were to play anything, it would be the top line, maybe a 2-man of Ovechkin and Strome or something like that. Calgary does take a fair amount of penalties, but they do have a good penalty kill. So, maybe like a one-off Ovechkin, I think is fine. Certainly one-off TJ Oshie until his price comes up, I think is perfectly fine as well. If I'm stacking anything, it's probably Calgary 2, specifically Kadri Mangiapane.
Yeah, I don't mind that call there at all. On the blue line, John Carlson, price doesn't move on DraftKings. He's still 7,200, still rolling along. I think he's fine to pair with Ovechkin if you want to get, a 2-man going there. Martin Fairvary scored in his last game. Price hasn't moved, 2,600. He's been playing decent minutes, especially for that price, so I like him. On the Flames or the Flams, depends if the flame is burning. Rasmus Anderson's fine if you want to for power play. Otherwise, Hannafin or Uyghur are my guys.
Yeah, just a lot of expensive Calgary defensemen again. Michael Stone's price still 4,600. I mean, he has had big games. He can have big games because he is a peripheral guy, but I would never play him for 4,600. Martin Fairvary, one of the cheap defensemen I really like. He's been playing like 21 minutes a game of late. I like him priced down. On the Calgary side, like I said, I don't think it's a great power play spot. Probably Hannafin, if anything, but it's Fairvary I like the most in this game.
Yep. Let's move on to the Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes have a 2.6 total heading into Vancouver. The Canucks have a 3.5 total. Vejmelka, Martin, probable. I kind of wanted to play the Yotes top line here, but they got their prices jumped a little bit. You still can, like in MME. Like I wasn't thinking about playing them in 1 to 3. But 2.6 total is actually not bad for the Yotes. And Nick Schmaltz has been shooting. I was kind of hoping they'd be both in the 4Ks, but they're not. They're in the 5s. They're okay. Not my favorite. Not prioritizing them. Vancouver Canucks, on the other hand, this is a very good power play spot here. They're not getting too much ownership. Just a matter of which line you want to choose.
Yeah, Nils Höglander back on the top line in practice yesterday, not Brock Besser. Is that going to last? That's something they've gone back and forth on quite a bit over their last few games. So, certainly at the very least, the 2-man of Miller and Horvat is playable. Arizona top line hasn't been giving up a lot defensively since Schmaltz returned, but it's only been a handful of games. You don't want to read too much into it. And Miller and Horvat certainly have been good offensively, 4.8 goals together with Nils Höglander on the wing. After a pretty bad first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, Vancouver's, at least offensively, has certainly turned things around. One problem here is Horvat's price is 7,200, and his shot rate is not what it was a month ago when he really started going on his goal scoring tear. That worries me a little bit. Like, I don't think there's a lot differentiating him from Elias Pettersson now, especially where Pettersson's been shooting more this season. So I do like that Vancouver second line, Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Mikheyev. Their defensive numbers have slid lately, but the offensive numbers have still been really good. 2.8 expected goals, 4.4 actual goals over their last few weeks together. Kuzmenko's still getting top power play time. The line's not coming in with a ton of ownership, about 5-6%, something like that. I think it's perfectly reasonable. Kuzmenko, Pettersson, and Mikheyev is what I like the best in this game. If you want to make it a pure power play stack, take off Mikheyev, put in Miller. I think that's fine because Arizona is the most penalized team in the NHL. Vancouver's power play has struggled a little bit of late, but they have amongst the highest upside for power play outside of like maybe Colorado. So I do really, really like that Vancouver second line here tonight.
Yep, I do as well. On the blue line, don't mind Jacob Chychrun tonight. He's getting a bit expensive at 6,800. If you don't want to go all the way up to him, Ghost. If you're like Chychrun, I think you can one off. Like Ghost, I would leave for Coyote power play stacks in your MME portfolio. On the Vancouver side, if you want to add in Hughes to a power play stack, I think that's fine. Other than that, nothing that jumps off the page.
Yeah, I think the problem with Chychrun is there's actually a defenseman we'll talk about in the next game that I like a little bit better, who is cheaper and will probably have less ownership. So, I'll pass on him. Ethan Bear, probably the guy that I like the most. I don't know if I can get to Quinn Hughes, but I guess he's playable.
His name is Aaron Ekblad. So let's get into that. Florida Panthers, 3.3 total, heading into Seattle. The Kraken have a 3.1. I would imagine Spencer Knight is probable. Phil Grubauer as well. Spencer Knight, the better goalie. Bob's contract, awful. We have to wait and see if Barkov skates. Even if he does, he's probably still a game time decision.
Yeah, that's the problem and they're saying they hope he can start skating this weekend. It makes it sound like it might take him a practice or two to get back in the swing of things. I'm not expecting Barkov, but we'll see in a few hours.
Yeah, I'm not expecting him either. If Seattle had I'm going to sound like a broken record. If Seattle had goaltending, they would be very good. They're pretty good defensively here. Don't mind getting to Lundell, Reinhart, or even just going to the problem with the top line is they're expensive, and there's so many really good spots here tonight. Lundell, Reinhart, under 10K for the two-man, both on power play 1. On the Seattle side, I've mentioned before, if I'm going to full stack anything, it's going to be the McCann, Beniers, Eberle line.
Yeah, last game Seattle did something a little bit different, and they ran out the Yanni Gore, Brandon Tanev, Oliver Bjorkstrand line as the shutdown line, which kind of surprises me because they've been maybe the worst defensive Seattle line so far in the season. 2.9 expected goals against in 70 minutes together, 2.6 actual goals against. That's going to be going up against Verhaeghe, Bennett, and Tkachuk. And that Florida top line, I haven't played a lot of minutes together, but we talk about it since Barkov's been injured. Bennett and Tkachuk have really good offensive numbers together this season, whether on the top line, whether on the second line. I think it's a good matchup against that Gord line. And then you get to the Seattle goaltending and the bad Seattle penalty kill. I think it's a pretty good spot for that Panthers top line. If there's a top line, this is one of the top lines that's on the road today that I like the most.
Yeah.
On the Seattle side, I think Anton Lundell got hurt in their last game. We'll have to see if he plays in this one. If he's out, the Panthers' depth is really, really going to be lacking. So Schwartz, Wenberg, Burakovsky, absolutely in play here, as is McCann, Beniers, and Eberle. If I were to go in any direction, it would be the Schwartz, Wenberg, Burakovsky line just because of the minutes they play. But I think both Seattle top lines are fine, whichever you want to use. But it's the Florida top line I like the most.
Yeah, Seattle is. Let's come stack Seattle and pick the wrong line. That's been happening all season. But, hopefully we picked the right one today. Aaron Ekblad is the guy you mentioned, you foreshadowed in the last game. I do like him better than Chychrun. He's $400 cheaper. He's going to play massive minutes. Vinny Dunn in the same boat. He's 4,300. He's been playing 25 minutes a night. Hasn't really been doing too much with it, but for 4,300, I'll take a chance.
Yeah, one guy I do like Ekblad a lot here in this game. I'll also mention Adam Larson. Florida typically a very high shooting team, even without Barkov in the lineup. Larson's a little bit pricey for a guy just to get a block bonus on DK, but I think he can get on the score sheet as well. He's not a bad puck moving defenseman, so I don't mind Larson at 4K either.
Yep. Typically, Carolina paying 0.1 total. Los Angeles Kings have a 2.9. This is a tough home matchup for the Kings. Jarvis scored in his last game up with Aho Netchis. That's probably the line I like.
Yeah, I agree. Aho, Jarvis, like we talked on the last show, Jarvis and Aho, really good numbers going back to last year. Netchis has really taken another step offensively this year. They're going to get that Kopitar-Fiala matchup. Kopitar-Fiala, even since they've been reunited over the last 5 games, the defensive numbers still not good. 2.8 expected goals against, 4.3 actual goals against. I think it's a pretty good matchup for Jarvis, Aho, and Netchis. So that's another road top line that I like on this slate. On the Kings side, more Dano, Arvidsson. I think they're fine to play, but a little bit expensive. And Carolina too has not been very good, but they really can drag down the pace of play. So I think if anything on the Kings side, I would go to the second line, but I don't really like this matchup for them. It's all about Carolina 1 for me.
Yep, agreed there. Coming up right after us in 3.5 minutes at the top of the hour, college football live before lock with Ben and Matt. I believe it's the College Football World Championships on DraftKings, so if you're in that, good luck to you. Who are you liking in net tonight? There's a lot of options.
Yeah, there are. I don't mind Kochetkov. He's got a reasonable price. I think Kakinen's got a pretty reasonable price for San Jose as well. I'll mention Jordan Binnington, even though I think people might be a little bit scared by how bad they got burned from him. A super cheap goalie I don't mind, Arvid Soderblom from Chicago. If the Rangers don't get there, they've had some trouble scoring. Don't mind him.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through to see if I have anything to add there. I guess like Georgiev also.
I mean, yeah, King Carl Vejmelka. He's always going to play for us too.
Yeah, and Georgiev I'll add. Also, don't mind Spencer Knight. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
That's a pretty good question because I think there are a couple incredibly obvious spots. I'm going to go with the game that we just talked about. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Seth Jarvis for Carolina.
I'm going to go with the guy who I picked for my big dog plus money proper of the night, Petey Pablo, Elias Pettersson.
All right, let's go. Late game brigade on tonight. Let's do it.
So for Cliffy, I'm your host, Josh Harris. We will be back on Monday or Tuesday. I haven't seen the schedule.
I'm pretty sure it's Monday.
Pretty sure it's Monday. We'll see you Monday. We'll be on Twitter. We'll be on Discord. Good luck, everybody. BetMGM, sign up.
Good luck, everyone.